With the addition of the PT Cruiser Convertible and the Crossfire Roadster to the Chrysler lineup, customers who prefer open-air motoring have some exciting new choices. And the addition of the Crossfire SRT6 is welcome news for those in the market for a high-performance coupe or roadster. Welcome to this month's Mastertech, in which we'll discuss the PT Cruiser and Crossfire Roadster convertible tops and powertrain, chassis, and body features of the Crossfire SRT6. In each case, we'll begin with some general features and then focus on components, operation, and service. The PT Cruiser Convertible model is available in base, touring, and GT trim levels. It features a power top that automatically coordinates door glass and quarter glass movement with top lowering and raising to prevent interference between the glass and weather strips. The top is equipped with a heated glass backlight that can be serviced separately from the top. In addition to automatic operation during top lowering and raising, door glass also operates automatically to aid door opening and closing. This feature is referred to as smart glass. Once the top is lowered, the boot or top cover is installed and removed manually. At this point, let's examine convertible top operation in greater detail, beginning with what happens when the top is lowered. Pulling down and turning the centrally located handle releases the latches at the front corners of the top. Pressing the lower side of the top switch to the first detent sends an input to the driver and passenger door modules. If the door glass is all the way up, the modules lower it on their respective sides about 2 inches. The modules sense door glass position by means of Hall effect sensors in the regulator assembly. The modules do not monitor quarter glass position. As a result, repeated switch inputs will continue to lower the quarter glass, but not the door glass. After the driver and passenger door modules lower the glass, the driver door module grounds one side of the power top up-down relay contacts. This causes the top cylinders to retract and lower the top. That's what happens with the first switch detent. Operation via the second detent is basically the same, except that the windows lower all the way. Power top raising begins with an input from the power top switch to the door modules. The modules lower the door glass on their respective side if the glass is up, and lower the quarter glass no matter what its position. After the driver and passenger modules move the glass, the driver door module grounds one side of the top up-down relay contacts. This activates the pump and extends the cylinders, which raises the top. Once the top is fully extended, the driver can latch it with the center handle. In an emergency, the top can be raised manually. To do that, you first need to release the hydraulic pressure in the system. A hole in the bottom of the tray, which holds the hydraulic assembly, provides access to a bleeder screw. Use a coin or flat blade screwdriver to turn the screw counterclockwise until it stops. Then use the latch handle to manually pull the top out of the storage compartment and forward until the pins are seated in the windshield header. Then latch the top. Be sure to close the bleeder screw after the top is latched. Besides automatically moving glass during top operation, the driver and passenger door modules also move door glass to facilitate door opening and closing. This is the smart glass feature referred to earlier. Here's how it works. On each side of the PT Cruiser, door handles are connected to a window drop switch, which is part of the door latch. Using the inside or outside handle results in a drop switch input to the door module on that side of the vehicle. If the door glass is all the way up, the module activates the window relay, lowering the glass about 1/2 inch. Once the door is open, additional drop switch inputs do not affect the glass position. In addition to moving windows down in preparation for door opening, Smart glass will also limit upward movement in preparation for door closing. As a result, when the window switch is used to move the glass on an open door, the glass will stop about 1/2 inch from the full-up position. Once the door is closed, glass that the module has lowered automatically returns to the full-up position. One of the more striking features of the PT Cruiser Convertible is the sport bar, which extends over the passenger compartment between the front and rear seats. The sport bar provides something few other convertibles have: mid-vehicle overhead courtesy lamps. The bar also reduces wind buffeting and enhances structural stiffness. A number of other body structures were also aimed at enhancing stiffness, such as those located in the sills and underbody. One difference between PT Cruiser and Cruiser Convertible involves releasing the deck lid latch. For increased security, the Convertible does not have a mechanical release handle on the deck lid. Pulling on the emblem not only will not open the deck lid, but could cause damage. Instead, to release the deck lid, customers need to use the button in the glove box or the RKE transmitter. To diagnose the electrical side of top and glass operation, you'll need the DRB3 and the service information on Tech Connect. You can access diagnostic procedures by first selecting the Diagnostic tab on Tech Connect and selecting Body. The door modules can record diagnostic trouble codes, and you can retrieve the codes with the DRB3. Door modules can be reprogrammed using the DRB3 and Tech Tools. Because of Hall effect sensor calibration, if a diagnosis points toward a door module as the cause, it must be replaced as part of the regulator assembly. The top hydraulic components are fill for life, and leakage is repaired by replacement. Do not attempt to fix a leak and refill the system. PT Cruiser Convertible Top service may also involve window glass and top adjustment. With glass adjustments, remember that you need to verify door alignment before adjusting glass, and that door glass is adjusted before quarter glass. Door glass can be adjusted in or out at the top, up and down, and fore and aft. Quarter glass can be adjusted up and down, in or out at the top and bottom, and fore and aft. Incorrect tension in the convertible top can lead to wrinkles on the one hand or high latching effort on the other. You can use the floating bow adjustment to correct these conditions. The bow is connected to barrel adjusters via straps. To raise or lower the bow relative to the upper deck molding, with the top raised but not latched, remove the plug, slide the adjuster from its anchor, and turn the adjusting screw in or out. Header slap and misalignment are other conditions that can be corrected through adjustment. In this case, the adjustment is at the ceiling stop screw. This is also referred to as the upstop adjustment. Be sure to see the service information on Tech Connect for detailed adjustment procedures. Our final service item concerns the 3 weather strips and their retainers on each side of the top. These are sometimes referred to as A, B, and C, with A being at the front. The A and B weather strips and retainers are attached with screws and positioned with shims. Be sure to note the number of shims on each screw when removing and installing these components. Well, that's a brief introduction to the features of the PT Cruiser Convertible. Next, we're going to turn our attention to another convertible top, the one on the Crossfire Roadster. The Crossfire Roadster is available first with the normally aspirated engine, and later on in the year with the supercharged engine as an SRT6 model. The convertible top provides power operation that automatically coordinates the windows with the top. The Roadster also automatically coordinates the movement of a tonneau cover with the top. The power top control module uses hydraulic cylinders to move the tonneau cover and rear bow, as well as to raise and lower the top itself. The control module uses additional cylinders to latch the tonneau cover and the rear bow. The cylinders and the power top control module are some of the electrical, hydraulic, and mechanical components that make up the top system. This month's reference book contains figures that point out the names and locations of top components. At this point, let's go over the top lowering and raising from an operator's perspective. Then we'll look at an example of how the power top control module manages the process. First of all, the cargo compartment divider, which allows storage when the top is up, must be in the vertical position before the top can be lowered. The power top control module will not lower the top if it sees a cargo divider in the horizontal position. An open trunk lid will prevent lowering and raising the top, and so will vehicle speed over 9 miles per hour. To lower the top, after releasing the handle from its recess, you need to turn the handle 1/4 turn clockwise to release the top from the header. Releasing the top signals the BCM to lower the door glass, which in this case automatically lowers all the way. At this point, pressing the top switch causes a series of movements that lower and store the top. First, the rear bow unlatches and raises. Then the tonneau cover unlatches and opens. After that, the rear bow and top lower into the storage area, and the tonneau cover closes and latches. A single tone indicates that the process is complete. Another series of movements occur when you press down on the switch to raise the top. The switch input first causes the BCM to lower the door glass. Then the tonneau cover unlatches and opens. The top then extends until it's about 8 inches from the header, at which point the rear bow raises, the tonneau cover closes and latches, and the rear bow lowers and latches. A single tone indicates the process is complete. Releasing the top handle from its recess, rotating it 1/4 turn, and pulling the top down against the header allows you to latch the top using the handle. Behind the scenes, all of the top movements are managed by the Power Top Control Module, or PTCM. The PTCM is located in the left rear corner of the cargo area, along with the motor, pump, and reservoir. Relays allow the PTCM to operate the pump in 2 directions. Before beginning top lowering or raising, the PTCM looks for conditions that might prevent top operation. Then it activates top components in sequence, making sure that each step has been completed before moving on to the next one. For an example, let's look at the sequence of events that occur at the beginning of top lowering. A switch input will not necessarily initiate top operation. PTCM inputs that indicate a cargo divider in the horizontal position, a trunk lid that is unlatched, or vehicle speed that's over 9 miles per hour will inhibit top operation. If none of these are present, however, the PTCM will energize the right rotation relay and a solenoid. This releases the rear bow latch. After verifying latch release via the latch switch, the PTCM again energizes the right rotation relay and 2 solenoids. This stabilizes the main cylinders and moves the rear bow cylinder. The PTCM monitors the travel sensor on the cylinder to verify that the bow is raised. The rest of the top lowering sequence occurs in a similar way, with the PTCM activating a top component and then looking for feedback that the desired result has occurred. If it cannot verify the result, the PTCM ceases top operation and sets a diagnostic trouble code. In an emergency, such as when a Crossfire's battery is low or discharged, it is possible to raise the top manually. The procedure, which requires 2 people and the use of the multi-purpose tool, is detailed in the Crossfire Roadster Owner's Manual, so be sure to refer to it. The Crossfire Roadster Convertible Top System has some helpful features which can assist you in diagnosis. Earlier, we mentioned the single tone that accompanies the end of top lowering or raising. The system also uses tones and visible signals to indicate malfunctions. The LED located in the top switch flashes slowly or quickly depending on the problem. And some faults are accompanied by a repeating tone. You'll need the DRB3 to retrieve diagnostic trouble codes from the PTCM. And remember, the Crossfire uses the new format service information, so both diagnostic and service procedures are located under the Service Info tab on Tech Connect. When it comes to service, note that the top hydraulic system has a fill plug located on the pump reservoir. If you need to add fluid, be sure to use only Mopar part number 0512-7381AA hydraulic fluid. Another service item involves the heated glass backlight. If the back glass has to be replaced for any reason, it's serviced with the top material. And when it comes to adjustments, be aware that Chrysler does not recommend adjusting the Crossfire top at this time. Next up in our new model update is a look at another new Crossfire model, the SRT6. In past Mastertechs, we've looked at the features of the Dodge SRT4 and SRT10. SRT, which stands for Street and Racing Technology, is a designation reserved for high-performance models. With the introduction of the Crossfire SRT6, the Chrysler brand now has its own street and racing technology model. The SRT6 will be introduced in a coupe first, with a Roadster following later in the model year. A number of features differentiate the SRT6 from naturally aspirated Crossfires. However, let's start with the one at the heart of SRT6's performance, the supercharger. Upstream of the supercharger, tubes on each side of the engine deliver air to the air filters. From there, intake air passes through the throttle body and onto the inlet side of the supercharger. The supercharger is driven by the accessory drive belt. The powertrain control module activates a magnetic clutch on the supercharger pulley for engagement. Unlike other systems you may have seen, the supercharger on the SRT6 is not engaged all the time. Engagement depends on engine conditions. The PCM looks at the crankshaft position sensor for engine RPM, and the throttle position sensor and map sensor to help determine load. When the supercharger is engaged, the map sensor is used to monitor boost. When the supercharger is not engaged, the helical gears freewheel to allow the free flow of air through the system. Note that this Crossfire uses a speed density fuel injection system that's based on engine RPM and map, and not mass airflow. An intake air temp sensor is also used so that the PCM can adjust fuel according to air charge temperature. Once it leaves the supercharger, air passes through the air-to-water heat exchanger, the air distribution pipe, and plenums for the left and right cylinder heads. The air-to-water heat exchanger is part of the charge air cooling system, which the SRT6 uses to remove heat from the air it compresses. Coolant circulates through the exchanger as air passes through it. Lines carry the heat removed by the coolant to a water-to-air heat exchanger, mounted behind the front fascia. An auxiliary pump circulates the coolant. This is an electric pump that operates independently of the cooling system, and it's on whenever the key is on. Even though it operates independently of the engine cooling system, the charge air cooling system is connected to the cooling system reservoir. There are a few other items under the hood of the SRT6 worth noting. For one thing, the secondary air pump, which is used to reduce cold start emissions, has been relocated to the inner fender to make room for the supercharger. The ignition cables on the SRT6 for the number 3 and 6 cylinder are treated with a temperature-resistant coating. Be sure to use the proper replacement cables. An oil cooler has been added to the SRT6, which uses coolant to control engine oil temperature. As mentioned earlier, SRT6 features involve more than just the engine. Let's take a brief look at some of the other things that distinguish the SRT6 from naturally aspirated Crossfires. The SRT6 uses a version of the NAG1 transmission. However, the SRT6 NAG1 has different gear ratios and modified internal components. In the area of brakes and electronic brake controls, The SRT6 features dual piston calipers in the front and ventilated rotors both front and rear. The SRT6 electronic stability program has a different calibration to allow more spirited driving. The suspension on the SRT6 features a larger stabilizer bar and modified tuning. The SRT6 also features unique wheels and tires. Body features include a fixed rear spoiler and a front air dam which channels air through the charge air cooler. And there are a number of other items that make the SRT6 stand out, such as a 200-mile-per-hour speedometer. When it comes to service, note that changes have been made to diagnostics that correspond to the adoption of the speed density fuel injection system. These changes are reflected in the service information and in DRB3 menus. Also note that the supercharger is a sealed unit and must be replaced as an assembly. Well, that's it for our look at the PT Cruiser Convertible, Crossfire Roadster, and Crossfire SRT6. Be sure to join us next month when we'll be discussing the 2005 Jeep Grand Cherokee and stow-and-go seats on 2005 minivans.